Hey there, comic book fans. I am back from the comic shop early this last week of 2016. I got to go on a Wednesday instead of my usual Thursday. It was a pretty big week for me. I got this Image Plus, plus 8 other comics. And this is our normal Image Plus, their preview magazine, Royal City. I have no idea what that is. I guess I'll read and find out. Like I've said before, Image Plus has turned into a pretty good little anthology magazine for me, in that they give you so many different things. Daryl Warren Johnson, wonder who that is. They give you so many different previews and little 4 and 8 page things that it's almost like its own comic book. Oh, I guess Rat Queens is going to be back with a volume 2 and a new artist. Owen Gienny. Alright, well, we'll see how that is. I liked the last artist, but I guess she didn't work out or something. But we'll see how the next one is, or maybe I won't pick, who knows? Maybe I won't pick it up because I won't like the way it looks, but we'll see. And plus it's got our little 4-page Walking Dead Negan story back there. Here's Negan, Chapter 9. I've been for $2. This is a nice little package here. I've been enjoying it. And the next comic we have is Wayward, issue number 19. Zub, Cummings, Bonvillain, Dillon, and Davison. All our creators up there above the logo. As our story continues in Ireland here. It's moved from Japan to Ireland the last couple of issues, and it looks like we have a flashback here till when our lead character was little. And our one mystical character was in trouble at the end of last issue. She was stabbed by some magical item, and she usually heals right up, but she hasn't. Uh-oh, someone's getting shot. I've seen too much now. So we'll have to see what happens here. They split our story. We've only had a few pages each issue of the story in Japan. I think that woman I just showed you getting shot was one of the mystical or magical people or young gods from back in Japan. The rest of the story is switched over to Ireland for a while, so we'll see how that goes. But you know, I've been enjoying this Wayward the whole time. That's a nice story. If you're into sort of adventure, magical type comics, give this one a look. Here we go with Snot Girl number 5. Looks like we got a wraparound. Sort of wraparound. Not quite. Don't call me snotty. This book, I'm like I said, this is a really strange book. I'm surprised at how much I like it, but I do. It's about this fashion blogger who... I can't even give you a plot to this. I mean, I don't know... We're what, 4 issues in, and I'm not quite sure how to describe the plot besides the everyday ins and outs of this fashion blogger who's completely insecure and thought she may have been involved in a murder of her new friend, but it turns out her friend just hit her head and came back. And then there's some police officer who wants to talk to her about something. But overall, I just like this. I like the And on the surface of things, it seems to have none of the stuff I would like in it, but somehow I like it. It's just well written, despite the fact that I'm not a fan of the actual art style. The storytelling is really good, so whenever I read it, I get into it, and it's probably the comic I least thought I would like, but end up really liking. Snot Girl, issue number 5. Next up, we have Saga Chapter 41. What's been happening with Saga lately? I think our characters have been holed up on an asteroid that's been involved in a perpetual war. They're hiding out in a war zone for some reason. Not a good place to hide, but that's what they're doing. Prince Robot here has taken drugs and wanted to kill himself, and here are these guys having some sort of secret meeting. There are so many long-ranging plots in Saga that what's going on at any given time is always like, oh, this or that or the other thing. But it's fun. Like I said, when I first started reading Saga, I knew just by the name Saga it was going to be a long, rambling plot as our characters kind of stumble through their lives, and it's sort of a Romeo and Juliet tale in that they both come from opposite sides of species at war who have this, galaxy-wide war going on or whatever, and they're just trying to live their lives, but they become the focus kind of this war, and on occasion completely ignored. But Saga, it's been around for 41 issues. Hope you've read some of them. And next up, we have Monstrous, issue number 9. There's our magical cat creature and our little fox person. Last couple of issues, they've been ready to go to sea. And I think last issue they finally put to sea. They're on a journey to some very dangerous magical place that's surrounded by mist and the winds don't work. And look at that, a dog person. She or he is new. It's another new person. Don't know who that is. But Monstrous is it's a pretty dense fantasy comic. The art is dense, and that she draws on every little square inch of real estate, and the story is pretty dense, and that there's lots of different factions vying for power, and lots of magical stuff that the characters don't know about. There's our lead character. And all sorts of different races and peoples and motivations. So if you're into sort of fantasy stuff, give Monstrous a read. And next we have East of West number 30. Has this been on hiatus? I don't think there's been an issue of East of West in a while, or else I can't remember the last one, by Hickman, Dragotta, and Martin. Last I knew, there was a shooting war going on. I think, stupid blank page, Death had something to do with finding his son, maybe? If Death found his son? Oh, that's right, they were hunting Death's son, and Death's son had a big battle with these bounty hunters. I think he killed all the bounty hunters. That was the last issue I remember. No idea what's going to happen in this issue. Sometimes they have such a big cast, they skip around from here to here and place to place. I think that's one of the new 4 horsemen they got going on. But anyway, East of West has always been entertaining. Another big, huge, sprawling story about war and civilization and fate and stuff like that. Give it a read. And here is Deadly Class, issue number 25. I've been enjoying this second class of Deadly Class a lot, getting to know all the new class members, the incoming freshmen, even though, I was just writing on Twitter that you gotta let the new incoming class into your heart a little bit, even though the last class broke your heart. So you can't say, no, I don't want anything to do with them. You got to open your heart to these newcomers and see what they have to offer, because I've been finding them pretty interesting so far. But it's strange going through, I said Deadly Class for 2 years was this one class of students, and I never suspected that it would come to an end and we'd have a new class of students, but it did, and here we go with Deadly Class. And the new class of students has been around a few issues now, and things are not going right for them all the time, so we'll see what this issue has for us. And here comes No Mercy, number 12. This came out 2 weeks ago, but I got shorted on it, so it took them another 2 weeks to get them in. As once again, not a deadly class, but a class that was kind of on a bus trip that crashed. And what it is with this one too is there's a bunch of different, since the initial story started, the basic people in the class have split up into like 4 or 5 stories. So there's 4 or 5 stories going on, but they each get a few pages each every issue. So there's a lot of skipping around. There's a lot of we're going from here, we're going from there. One group of or a couple of kids has been kidnapped by rebels living in the army. Another guy is just ended up hanging out with 2 Australians who were touring the area. Another couple ended up hospitalized and really injured. Another ended up with her brother who tormented her in a hotel somewhere, and I think she she killed her brother, or she at least assaulted him really badly. And so the stories have all split up. They've all kind of gone to the wind now, and we're just following each story individually as it goes. So that's kind of different than your average comic, I must say. And we'll see what issue 12 has for us from Alex DeCampi and Carla Speed McNeil. And the final comic we got this week is Richard Corbin's Shadows on the Grave. I believe this also came out 2 weeks ago, but I didn't know it was coming out, so they had to reorder it for me. Corbin is an automatic buy with me. I have zero idea what this is about. Probably explains it in that paragraph right there. Oh, or all these old paragraphs. I'm sure it's a Richard Corbin horror book. And black and white. I'm trying to remember if he's done any black and white lately. I think the stuff I've been buying from him has been color, so. Roots in Hell. So maybe we get a series of short horror stories here. He's been doing mini-series lately, so it'll be interesting to see him return to some short horror stories, which I know he's done in the past. But whatever it is, it's on my pull list because I'm a Richard Corbin fan. I think he's just a master cartoonist. He's a master of the form here. So anything he wants to do, I will give a read to. And finally, we'll give you a look at my background art. I pulled out a couple of things here, which I did a while ago. Let's see. 10/19/2010. Wow. This one, I don't know if that one looks so familiar. I must have had it out recently because hard to believe it was 6 years ago that I did these. These are two of my Enigma Prism covers, which are just sort of strange, mysterious, otherworldly images. 9/29/2010. Like I said, wow, sometimes it's amazing how fast time passes. These ones are just black and white. I don't think I ever colored these, but I'd like them in black and white. Sometimes the black and white original art is just what I'm looking for, and that's the case with these ones. So, okay, you guys have a good week out there, and keep reading comics.